For those of you who don't know me, my name is Joshua Kong, and I'm a seminarian studying at St. Patrick's Seminary in Menlo Park. I was born and raised here in this parish, so they thought it would be fitting for me to speak in honor of National Vocations Awareness Week. And so I'll get right into it. You know, my vocation story literally begins right down this street, on North Street right here, at a little store called La Guadalupana. I'm not sure if any of you have ever been there, but it's been there for almost 20 years. It's a little religious goods store. And well, my mom's the owner. And you know, I spent a lot of time there as a kid. I was surrounded by religious articles and books and, you know, all the works. And I grew up, I learned the rosary at a very young age. I started praying with my family. And, you know, I just grew up in the faith. You know, I was baptized here and just come to Mass here. And so I grew up in the faith. And furthermore, I'm blessed to have 3 aunts who are religious sisters up in San Francisco with the Order Perpetual Adorers of the Blessed Sacrament. So when I was 7, I was blessed with the opportunity to go to Rome with my mom and travel with my aunt's order. And, you know, we were there for the beatification Mass of the order's foundress, Blessed Mary Magdalene of the Incarnation. And throughout my time on that trip, I learned how to serve the Mass by helping out our trips, the chaplain, a priest friend from Spain. And on that trip, something struck me. And, you know, me being a 7-year-old kid, I had aspirations about being a priest one day. And that's when it all first started. And so after that trip, we came home and I decided to tag along with my mom, who was a Eucharistic adorer here. And her time slot was Thursday mornings from 6 to 7 a.m. So at 7 years old, I was coming with my mom every week from 6 to 7 a.m. every Thursday. And I just enjoyed my time here with the Lord. And as time went on, you know, people would come up to me and ask me if I ever thought about becoming a priest. And I would say yes, I've thought about it, because that's exactly what it was. It was just a thought. It was something that I never fathomed or ever thought about becoming true. And so, you know, as I went on with life, you know, the thoughts would come and go. And they're still coming and going. I'm not a priest yet. So when I was 14, I signed up to be an altar server here, and this was a pivotal moment in my vocation story, because serving up at the Mass, I saw the Mass so differently, and it was just, I loved serving the Mass, and it's a very different experience when you get to serve at the Mass. And but, you know, I got caught up in life again. You go through high school, and again, it just stayed as a thought in my mind. So this leads me to, I graduated from Antigua High School in 2017 and ended up attending UC San Diego to study biology. And on the first day of college, I met a girl who I eventually started dating, and along with that, I just got stuck in the college life. I got stuck with work, I got stuck with school, and I started to put my faith as a secondary. You know, it wasn't the source of my life. So in college, for the most part, I just went to Mass on Sundays out of obligation. And there was no fruit coming from my life. And in addition to that, you know, my grades were falling behind in college. And this continued throughout my first year of college. You know, I had pretty good grades in high school, and I get to college, and something wasn't right. And so entering my second year, I decided to change majors, and I started studying business and psychology. And again, I realized something still isn't right. So what needed to change? And I realized that I had stopped praying. That's really what it was. And you know, I was so caught up with life in college. And so I decided I'm gonna pray the rosary every day. I'm gonna start that, because Our Lady will give me better grades, you know? So if you pray, you'll get better grades, basically is what I'm saying. And so that's what I did. And to my surprise, my grades did get better significantly. And, you know, I was like, all right, this is awesome. And, you know, at this point, I just continued praying my daily rosary in the morning, and I would go to Mass on Sundays. But still, something was not right. I was still stuck in the secular world. And then this leads me to my 3rd and final year of college. You know, I was working, going to school, had a nice girlfriend. I thought life was set. I thought I was good. That was until I came back home one weekend in the middle of 2019. And the homily at that Mass was about the priest's vocation story. I was completely in shock. It had never occurred to me how many priests today dated before they were in the seminary. You know, sometimes we have this thought that priests are just, well, they're born priests, basically, right? They never lived life before. And so that was a complete shock to me. And for the rest of that Mass, I did not pay attention. And all I could think about was, maybe that could be me one day. And so after that, I returned back to school, and I started thinking to myself, so I'm going to graduate soon. What am I doing with my life? What am I going to do? And the more I thought about it, the harder it was to see myself as anything other than a priest. And so I kept these thoughts to myself for a few months, but it came to the point where I could no longer hold it in. I had to do something about it, and furthermore, I had to tell my girlfriend at the time. And she wasn't a Catholic, so she didn't quite understand the whole part about, a priest can't get married kind of thing. But she came to terms with it. And it was a difficult conversation, but at that point, I decided to discern the call to the priesthood. However, about 2 weeks later, that's when COVID-19 turned the world upside down and all the churches were closed. And so just to my luck, I just said, okay, I'm going to discern the priesthood, and yet I can't go to church. So here I am, just sitting there, like, what am I going to do now? So being someone who grew up in the 21st century, there's this thing called YouTube, and I looked up live Eucharistic adoration. And, what do you know? A bunch of channels worldwide are streaming this live 24/7. And I was just like, this is awesome. And so I started to pray. I was in my apartment, and I'm just praying. I had live Eucharistic adoration on the TV, and I started to pray, and I started to ask, why me? I am not worthy. I am not worthy. And after a couple of minutes of praying, I began to cry for 2 hours straight. The Lord had touched my heart, and I was sincerely sorry, not only for everything I've done in my life, but for just ignoring Him for so long. He placed that in my heart at 7 years old, and it took me 13 years after that, 14 years after, to recognize, why have I never done anything about this before? And so, again, I began to ask Him, while I'm bawling my eyes out, what do you want me to do? And in my head, I clearly heard what you have always wanted to do since you were a little boy: be my priest. And so, in June 2020, I graduated from college, and I moved back home, and I kind of took a gap year to really just discern and reorient myself. And so I contacted our vocations director, Father Caesar, started attending monthly discernment meetings, and I ended up living at the Formation House in Stockton for 6 months. And I was living there during my time when I was applying for the seminary, and it was such a blessing for me. And, well, here I am today. So I truly believe that this was all the doing of Our Lady. It took a couple years for me, but I really believe that when I started praying the rosary every day, that's the reason why I'm here standing telling you my story today. Our Lady really works wonders, And additionally, I would not be standing here today telling you about my story without the prayers of my family, my friends, and my community here. It took me 20 years to hear a vocation story in a homily. And to the extent of my knowledge, there hasn't been a seminarian from this parish in a very, very long time. I never had that experience of sitting in the pews and hearing a seminarian speak to me and telling me about his experience, about his journey, saying, oh, that's someone who I can relate to. I never heard that growing up. And so I hope that if there's anyone out there who has ever thought about it, or about the priesthood or religious life, do something about it. Don't be afraid. And additionally, to all the parents and the adults and grandparents, don't be afraid to encourage vocations to come from your family. I know that's a thing, so don't be afraid to encourage that in your family. There's no greater blessing than to give up your son, your daughter to the Lord. Ask your kids if they ever thought about the priesthood or religious life. Sometimes just asking is all it takes to get the ball rolling. And to conclude, I just want to thank you all for your continued prayers. I assure you all of mine. And please remember to pray for all those discerning the priesthood and religious life, and to encourage those who are thinking about it. So God bless and thank you all.